a degree above, all of us are on a mission to future proof today's workforce. We're targeted on the careers of young professionals between 1 to 5 years of experience, focusing on building key skills of the future in all of our learners. We built the ecosystem needed for young talent to flourish through a three-pillar approach, which is learning, mentoring, and community. And I'll request my team to kindly share all the different links for all of you to check out, especially for our community, and join us so that you can be a part of today's session as well as other wonderful discussions and insights that we keep throwing at our community. So, thank you so much for that. The discussion today on financial wellness will equip you with practical tools and strategies to make smart financial decisions, balance debt repayments with savings, and build wealth for the longer term. Whether you're navigating your first paycheck, managing a student loan, or planning for future investments, this session will provide you valuable insights to set you on the path to financial wellness very early on in your career. So let's make money work for you. Allow me to introduce our moderator, Kamalika Podar. Kamalika is an award winning fintech expert, currently leading product and data at Luxme, India's first financial platform designed exclusively for women. Her expertise in the fintech space, combined with her passion and dedication towards financial inclusion and women's empowerment, has made her a notable figure in the industry. I'm very, very excited to have her today with us. Kamalika, thank you so much for your time. And we're really looking forward to you asking questions, but then I'm going to make sure I ask you some myself.
Very happy to be here, and good morning to everyone who's joining us. Thank you so much for that introduction, Sanya.
Beautiful. Guys, allow me to introduce our first speaker for the day, Nikunj Jain. Nikunj is a seasoned treasury, banking, and strategy professional with over 15 years of extensive experience in fundraising, corporate finance, liquidity management, and financial planning and analysis. His expertise spans across industries. Nikunj strategic insights and financial acumen have contributed significantly to not just these organizations in various sectors, but to our community the last whole month, with him being a mentor for all of our young professionals in the community. He's really been helping out. Nikunj, a lot of gratitude and a big, big, big welcome to you. I'll introduce the next speaker, Nikesh Kumar. He's a registered mutual fund distributor and insurance broker with extensive experience in payroll processing and accounting. With over 18 years of experience, Nikunj is an expert of everything payroll and compliance. His deep knowledge in both financial services and payroll systems makes him a versatile professional in the industry. And once again, we're very excited to have you with us, Nikesh. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm sure all of us have a lot of questions on payroll for you today.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for introduction.
So, guys, I will hand it over to Kamalika. Kamalika, please take it forward from here.
After that amazing introduction, I think that's like a high pressure job to take up, but I will try to do my best over here. But I think all of us have been in your shoes, right? When we started out our first jobs and got our first paycheck and really didn't know what to do with it or what to expect out of it. And from there, kind of the cool new term to use nowadays is adulting. So we started adulting with money and figuring things out. And I think a lot has changed since when we started our career versus now. Because one, you do have access to a lot more information that's available thanks to social media, thanks to other things that the internet has made available to us. But along with that, the problem of too much information also kind of exists. So that's where I'm hoping today's session and the experts that we have with us, Nikunj and Nikesh, can help not only clarify a lot of these things for us, but also in a way give us some actionable direction as to, this is how they learned from their mistakes, or these are some of the golden rules that they've kind of learned when they were doing managing their finances and how they've groomed their portfolios and their personal wealth over time, as well as what we can learn from them. So I'm hoping that we can do all of that today. So with that said, I think I'm ready to get started with the questions. Nikunj, Nikesh, are you guys up for it?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So I think we'll start off with a very easy question. We'll start off with, when was it? At what age did you really get your first paycheck? I'm not going to ask you how much you got, but really, what did you use that money for? We'll start off with you,
So,
Nick.
okay. I think I got my first paycheck, if I remember correctly, somewhere in 2008. And I think, like many of the Indian kids, the first is towards buying of good things for your parents, your siblings.
Yeah.
It gets into that. It's like the first customary check. And but yeah, I think I still remember back then, while mutual funds were there, of course we did not have a lot of knowledge back then. There was no social media, of course. But since my father used to dabble in stock markets from very very long time, so he knew that there is something of this sort. So he told me that invest some of it into this, and I had no idea what it is. I just said whatever is okay, okay, I am okay with that. But I'm glad he kind of helped me take the first step, because essentially, once it's like your first money, whatever you kind of put it into, you tend to research it a bit. So that's how I got introduced. Very very fortunate, I got introduced to investments, mutual fund a bit early than I would say my peer group or many folks even today. And that's how my journey started. But I would not say I invested like very heavily at that time. But at least, yeah, some portion of it. The SIP was not a concept back then. So yeah, I did that, and of course I would have splurged a little bit on that as well.
So you've actually started early. So I think the power of compounding for you would have worked magical. But we'll first also hear from Nikesh. Nikesh, when did you get your first paycheck and what did you do with it?
See, it was like, as I said, like I got my first check in somewhere around, I think, 2002 or end of 2002, so practically 2003.
Hmm.
And if I remember correctly, at that time there were very few things which you can think of, because as Nikunj very rightly said that in 2008 social media and things were not there. So at that time it was obviously
Yeah.
not in the thoughts also.
Yeah.
So the three things was, one, first thing was mobile phones, because at that
Yeah.
time mobile phone used to be a luxury.
Yeah.
And second is property, and third thing is the credit card.
Interesting.
So
Interesting.
I actually put it my first check in mobile phone, and it was, you can say, like it was 60 or 70% of my 1 month paycheck it had take at that time to just get a basic phone. And the reason behind is like, because I was like a person who had just moved from native place to Delhi, just like 6 7 months before. So the priority was to communicate with the family, or
Hmm.
having a phone, as I said, that a kind of luxury. So that's a very simple and short. There was no thought behind that, like why I'm doing this thing and those things. And thereafter, yes, for next 5 6 years, things were just going as it was coming and going. So there is no planning, no mentoring, there was no information. And obviously for property, I could not go, because as you can think, like if I am spending 60 70% for 1 month in mobile, so property was not the thing in my card. But yes, thereafter I focused on credit card. Started credit card with the increasing my expenses. Most of the time I used to spend my whole salary before I getting it. But
Oh,
that
wow.
given me some good insight about the credit card also, which helped me in later.
Nice. So I think we're going to learn a lot from you, not just the mistakes that you made, but also how you kind of pivoted into planning properly from just spending all your
Yes.
salary to making plans for saving and investing. So thank you for sharing that with us. But moving on to the next question, and I think this I would want you to answer, Nikesh, because you've been in the industry for so long, and
Mhm.
a lot of people who come newly into the workforce, when
Mhm.
they get their offer letter, they probably see the cost to company, do a divide by 12, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to get so much of money. Cut to the first end of first month when they actually receive that money into their accounts, and they're like, sorely disappointed, and they're like, where did all the money go? So really, I want to understand what are and for the audience out there, if you could just lay out what are some of the key components that are there in our salary structure, especially focusing on some of those allowances and benefits that are there, which in a way they do impact the take home salary, but
Mhm.
they also do have some sort of benefits that are there for the employees. So
Mhm.
over to you.
Okay. Actually, this is the question which I think in last 20 years I have heard thousands of times and answered that thing. And as I was saying before starting of this call also, like people don't remember these things. And you are very rightly said that people always tend to divide just by 12 and think that this is my monthly salary.
Yeah.
So considering that fact, I'll start with you always see that your offer letter is always categorized in some way. Be it any company of any industry, it is always categorized in two or three or four, sometimes four different parts. So don't going in that part like what is mentioned in there. So if I just say first part and second part is the most of the time your take home salary. Okay, because first part will always be with your basic salary and some allowances which will be paid to you without submitting or giving any kind of fulfilling any kind of conditions. So basic salary, special allowance, HRA, or some other allowances if it is depending on industry uniform allowance or city compensatory allowance, these you will be getting anyway based on your attendance. So very first thing. Second part generally comes based on your level and all those things. You may get some kind of reimbursements or some components which is for your tax planning. If I give the example, this will be LTA, which will be giving to you if you are traveling and providing some bills. If you are working from home or you are getting telephone reimbursement, then that again based on your reimbursement. So all these type of things you should not be counting. You will be getting every month because that has dependency on your submissions. And third part is normally statutory part. So first is your PF, whatever is mentioned you just take multiply it by 2, and that is your salary which will not be getting in your bank account because that is getting paid to some department on your behalf. It is not direct payment, it is an indirect payment. Same way, if your salary is less, then ESI can be there. If you are in a particular state, like let's say in Tamil Nadu, then professional tax can be deducted, which is not mentioned there. If you are
Hmm.
in Haryana, then LWF can be deducted, which will not be there. In nowadays, some employer mention this LWF, but there is a very tiny amount, 20 rupees or less. So that can be there. There can be one or two more things depending on some industry or something. So these are main three parts, which is your part of CTC. Now, fourth is why I'm adding here is because some employer take gratuity as the part of CTC, some employer don't.
Okay.
So,
Hmm.
if gratuity is part of that thing or some insurance benefits, so for the sake of CTC, employer can add those insurance benefits also in your CTC because they are paying some amount of premium.
Hmm.
If my employer is providing me term insurance, mediclaim, accidental insurance, it is not uh, deducted from my salary, but employer is paying some amount. So it is allocating like for an employee, let's say 500 rupees for mediclaim, 200 rupees for accidental insurance, or let's suppose 100 to 50 rupees is for term insurance. So that amount will be there, but will not be paid to you because that is a benefit.
Hmm.
See, gratuity will not be paid to you until unless you leave that company and you have fulfilled some conditions. So
Okay.
remember, first two is going to be credited in your bank account. Third one is never going to be credited in your bank account. It is getting paid to some other department. And fourth is a just a benefit.
Hmm.
Okay, so
So
that
these benefits are pretty interesting because one, you mentioned leave travel allowance and medical allowances and all of that. So I just want to kind of hone in on that and figure out what
Mhm.
are the tax benefits. So what are the, in general, what are the benefits over there? And Nikunj, feel free to chip in as well if you've seen or made use of some of these allowance baskets as well.
See,
So
in just I'll just mention this thing one more time. See, in allowance basket, if I just categorize this thing, so there will be like there is only one HRA which normally causes increase in your take home salary,
Hmm.
because when you have HRA in your salary structure and you are staying in the rented accommodation, in that case there is a chances, if you are in old regime, then there is chances that your tax will reduce, and if tax reduces, your take home salary goes up. Apart
Hmm.
from that, other things are all conditional, like if you are getting city compensatory allowance, so that will be paid to you. If you are in Delhi, if you shifted to some B class city, that will go off. And other allowances, I don't think that make much difference, because those are just, if it is coming, it will be taxable, and it will reduce your take home salary only. Not, it will not increase in the same proportion. If it is 10,000 rupees city compensatory allowance, so your taxable salary, so take home salary will not be increased by same amount,
Yeah. Yeah.
because if you are in a tax bracket, tax will be deducted and then you will be get paid. And one more thing, when you are getting any ad hoc payments like incentive or any one time or quarterly payments, that same amount is not amounting to the take home salary, because again the tax will be deducted as applicable. And Nikunj, I think you can add something.
yeah, I think what I have learned, while of course Nikesh is the expert and he has been doing this for now over 2 decades, but purely coming from an employee perspective, I think what I have learned after now being part, I think, of fifth or sixth organization, is that structures are there, and let me take the liberty of saying, some places, the HR folks are pretty proactive in telling you what are the benefits. At some places you have to be more curious in asking either your teammates, either HR guys, that do we have any kind of benefits. Like Nikesh said, there could be, these are flexi components which form part of your CTC.
Hmm.
For example, fuel bills, for example, corporate attire, for example, telephone bills, sort of these things. We have meal coupons, we have entertainment allowances. The idea behind this is that whatever under the statutory guidelines, limits have been provided. You have to make certain efforts. When I say efforts, for example, if monthly your company allows you to have a reimbursement of fuel bills, again, this is part of your CTC. The
Hmm.
only caveat being, if you share or submit these bills on these 15,000 a month, if you fall in a 20% bracket, you will be able to save 3,000 rupees in tax outflow every month. Now, this 3,000 on an yearly basis is almost 36,000. 36,000 is a lot of income. But only because you were curious, you wanted to know what all form, parts of my benefit. Because I understand when you're joining a company, there is, as it is so much going on in your mind, that you typically don't focus here. And I have seen, my friends, I have also been in that place when I went to my HR folks, to people like Nikesh, and told them, यार ये मेरा टैक्स कट गया, अब मैं आपको पूरे फाइनेंशियल ईयर का दे रहा हूँ, तो जो मेरा टैक्स कट गया आप उसको रिवर्स करवा दो. But that
Hmm.
is not how it is. Because once your TDS or your tax is deposited, it is deposited. But just because you got activated 6 months down the line, just imagine if 36,000, you could have easily saved 18,000
Yeah.
by just being curious to know what forms part of your CTC and what all flexi benefits you have. Another example I'll give you. So my company gave me, told me that if you are able to submit broadband bills or your telephone bills, provided they are in your name. then we can allow those invoices as part of the flexi component. So I had my broadband connection in my wife's name. Now, what I had to do was, I of course had to make an effort. Told Airtel that I need to get my name changed. Took whatever 15-20 days, but then it got changed. Now 1,500 rupees a month, 18,000 yearly, assuming a 30% tax outflow. I am almost able to save what, 4,500 rupees by just putting in some emails, sharing some documents. So you guys have to make the effort, because ultimately it is your money. You have to work for it. You can't tell anyone that boss, I was ignorant, मुझे नहीं पता था इसलिए मेरा टैक्स कट गया. It is purely your responsibility. Ultimately you have to work it for yourself. So just talk to the guys, just be curious enough to know what all benefits the company provide, and can you do anything about it. So like, I now, have told my couple of cousins, couple of friends that whatever fuel bills, whenever you go and, get your car refueled, just take fuel bills here and send it to me, and
Huh.
I'll submit that. So I'm saying you don't have to be completely. Again, I'm taking the liberty of moralistic. You just have to make your money work for you, but of course under the right way. So we are not doing any chori here, but just some jugaad.
But yes,
Okay,
I think
and
it's very.
I just want to add one or two point here. Very rightly, Nikunj has highlighted the things which is happening from a other side of the table, because what I spoke is based on that I am working on the this side of the table, but Nikunj
Yeah,
is on the other side of the table. So thank you, Nikunj. And
absolutely.
I just want to add one point there. Whatever Nikunj suggested is a very interesting and very correct thing, because without effort you will not be able to get out of these things. But these days, remember one more thing: you are doing all these things and you are not choosing the correct tax regime, you may
Yeah,
end up losing that
Oh,
also.
yes.
absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Very, very, very good point.
And
But
that's also, I think, a one time declaration which you have to choose in the
Yes,
beginning, and that is very hard to change, guys. So be very
yes,
careful. Take help of any expert, any friend, maybe in finance or whomsoever is helping in your tax planning. Just
yes,
ask them that if I have all these benefits, this is my whatever total thing, which benefit is beneficial for me. And there are various online tools also available here. You can just put in the numbers and get it done. But yeah, Nikesh very rightly pointed out, very extreme important point.
otherwise
absolutely.
what happens, like I have seen people have like chosen for
Yeah,
all kind of benefits. They have their take home salary is getting lower, they are not getting payment every month, and at the end of the year they say they get this thing ki they have not saved tax also, because
yeah,
there was no declaration.
No, I think that's a very important point that before you can have money working for you, you got to put in the work so that
Yes,
down the line your money works for you. All
yes,
right, I think we've spoken a lot about saving and tax and all of that. Let's talk a little bit on the other side of things. I
yeah,
mean, we can't always be saints and prudent people and save all the time, right? We do occasionally want to go out and spend a little. I mean, Diwali is right around the corner, so I'm sure all of us are doing a lot of shopping over there. So when those occasional moments come in, when you've gone on an impulse shopping spree and you've splurged a little, and then your spends tend to get a little out of hand. And I know a lot of youngsters, I faced this when I was 22. So I know a lot of youngsters also face this. So what would you suggest, or what would you advise to such youngsters, in especially during such situations? Nikunj, we'll start with you, and then Nikesh, will move on to you.
yeah. I think very honestly, it's a very very normal human tendency to splurge, and I mean, it's good to be splurging sometimes. It gives you a lot of gratification. The only point being that with social media so much at forefront, most of us are doing a lot of things to kind of show it to the world that we are enjoying this. We might or might not be enjoying them. That's a different issue altogether. So my take is it's okay to splurge. uh, However, what you can do is, at least I will always tell you what I have been doing, because ultimately I can only vouch for my experiences. So if say, okay, I like eating food, we all like eating food. I like going out. Now the point is, whenever we are going out, it's I think inflation is hitting all of us. So whether we talk about the price of paneer tikka, whether we talk about the price of a dal makhni or even a pint of beer, everything is increasing day by day. Socializing is a big thing. I am in for it. All I'm saying is that if you are going to a particular, you want to spend time with your friends, with your family, and place is not a concern. So what I tend to do is, yeah, I can always go on a Swiggy, on a dine out, on a Zomato. So say if I am going to Connaught Place, I can always search for the restaurants which is giving me a good deal. If the food is good, the reviews are good, and I'm getting a 40% off, why not go there? If
Yeah.
I'm going out with my friends to have a couple of beers, I mean, food is secondary. We're just going to have a good time. Again, just scout for the deal. So you can do that. Again, that's kind of extracting the value which is lying on the table. And like I said previously, you just have to make a little bit of effort. Also, what I do typically is that if I have gone out, say, a couple of times to good places, then next time I can tell to my friends, yeah, just come over, we'll have some good food at home. Because that ways you are spending good time, you're having good food, but at a lower cost. So that is like a food component. Some people, well, I am thankfully not into clothes, but I understand a lot of people like shopping. That's
Me too.
okay. If I know. So you go out shopping. uh, while we will talk about spending on credit cards, because you know I think I read beautifully that whether it's about saving, whether it's about making money, it's not about numbers. It is just about human behavior and your habits. So if you are aware where you are spending, how much you are spending, while I can always talk about the how to kind of tweak the psychology to splurge, spend, and also save. I think that's what we need to acknowledge. So it's okay to splurge, just be mindful about it. If you are using a credit card, remember plastic money is always easier to spend than physical money. You giving out 5,000 rupees for a purchase vis-a-vis swiping a card, it has a very different impact on your brain. You don't think twice while swiping your card, and that's why card limits are there. So like Nikesh was mentioning, one of his initial experiences, which I think many of us have gone through. So what I have observed in credit cards, I'm just skipping on a different topic, but on credit cards, there are two sorts of people. One who definitely use cards a lot, and one who are very fearful about the cards.
Yeah.
So just see where you guys are lying, and just be mindful about your choices. You can always do some little tweaks which can help you save more.
I'm so glad that, Nikunj, you didn't follow the social media dictum of saying that, instead of buying 200 rupees of Beru's biryani from Zomato, you could have bought the Zomato stock instead. And so thank you for that. But Nikesh, over to you.
See, my take is little bit different as per my experience, because as I said that when I got my first check and thereafter 5 6 year, it was like just going as it is, no planning. I was not knowing what was happening. I was not knowing, but after let's say like, completing this 5 6 years, in 2010 or 12, I start realizing that yes, I should know that what I'm doing. And what I did is like I just started controlling the things. Maybe sound little bit weird, but I started controlling the things. And somewhere I read one formula, like if you want to save or if you want to do something good financially, then you start doing this thing like what our parents was also doing. Whatever you earn, first you set aside what you want to save for your future, and
Very
then
true.
you spend. So that actually led to a situation where now I have at least a 12-month budget every time ready with me every year. So I know like what are my fixed expenses, and thereafter, and this actually hurts for first few years. You will be thinking like Nikunj was saying ki there are offers, but you will not go for it because you are actually delaying your gratification. and that
Mm.
hurts because people will tell you,
Mm.
what is the point in living? You don't know tomorrow you are there or not.
Yeah.
You will get all type of these statements
Absolutely. Yeah.
from your friends, your from colleagues, from your relatives, everybody. But once you cross that 3 or 4 years, when that becomes your habit, then those people will come to you and ask, tell me yaar, how I can do, मुझे भी बताओ कि कैसे करते हो. So that's
True.
what. So simple thing is like, if you start with controlling, if you make your plans in advance and stick to that for some years, thereafter you will definitely have extra money in your pocket, but maybe may not be earning very high, but because of your habits that you can go and splurge. And as Nikun said, at by that time obviously you will do that because in your DNA at that time that thing would have come, that you will not go for anything which is on
Yeah.
MRP. Things will.
No.
And one more thing, as per my experience, this is happening with me. Things comes to my towards me where discounts are there, where offers are there, because I am like this. Your
Mm.
email, because today the in this era is AI. But if I
Yeah.
remember correctly, in 2006-7, I could see that when I was opening Gmail, I could see those advertisements which I was talking, or I was searching in Google. So AI was at that time also.
Yeah.
It's
True.
we are realizing now.
True.
So that's what. See, simply you just start with your finances first, and one more, moreover, if you can't do that thing, I'll suggest take a help of expert, because expert is a person which will be thinking for you unbiased. Because when
Yeah.
you are spending your money, be it whatever level, even today, I am taking help of an expert for my share investing.
Mm.
Even after doing for last 15 years, I invest via some small case. I don't go and buy some share just because I have done some research, because I know for my money I can be always biased. I'll be always biased because I'll be thinking my thinking will change tomorrow. Today I am thinking this way, tomorrow I may be thinking in a different way, but my consultant will not do this thing, because he has to earn from me. He has to make sure that I am earning good from that money. So
Nice. I think one of the
that's
first things that I started doing when I started out my career was, and this was sage advice given to me by my chachi. I created three different bank accounts. Now I
Hmm.
know a lot of people say that back then also a lot of my friends said you have to maintain minimum accounts in all of those banks, but the reason why I did that was one account was for emergencies, like if I have to suddenly I need some bit of money, then I use that account. Another one was where all of my so by the time I started working, I did have SIPs, and the first thing I did was to start an SIP on my chachi's advice, of course. And the
Hmm.
last one was where I would spend from. So I would not have a debit card on any of the other two accounts. It would just be the salary account that had a debit card, and I also got a credit card later on from that same bank. So that would be the only account that I would use to spend. So I think in a way, because I had the influence of my chachi and my all of the people in my family, I think for me that discipline kind of came in from the beginning itself. So I would know that okay, August is my birthday month, and so from the months before it, I would be very very frugal in spending, almost to the point of being a miser. But yes, but come August, I'd have like a healthy corpus so that I can, treat my friends and my family and whatnot. So yeah, I think that way some sense of disciplining was there from right from the beginning for me. But since we are talking so much about spends and credit cards and all of that, I think I want to ask this question because, like you said, Nikunj, there are just two factions of people. One faction that says credit cards are bad for you, you're going to overspend. Another faction that says, no, there are so many good offers in credit cards. Why would you want to leave money on the table? So, for young adults, what do you think? How do you think credit cards can play a role in their lives? Nikunj, we'll start with you.
Yeah. So I moved from one fraction of being scared of plastic money, and now to almost being at a point where I spend everything on my card. But what I realized during this, and this was a long journey, I would say a good 5 7 years journey. But what I realized in this journey was the fact that if you are being prudent on spending on cards. And when I say being prudent, it means that just because I have a card, just because I have a limit, just because my mind says कि यार आज खर्च कर लेते हैं, बाद में देखेंगे, सैलरी आएगी पे कर देंगे, if you feel you are one of those who are not able to control, then don't go for plastic money. Then you should always get the cash out of ATM and pay it, because whenever you are taking money out and paying it, it plays a part on your brain that यार अब मैं खर्चा कर रहा हूँ, अब I'm spending, automatically you will see your spending habits would, fall in line. Alternatively, if you are one of those who are relatively better in keeping a check on your cards, absolutely you should go for cards. The reason being, uh, credit cards, like Kamalika said, gives you a lot of offers, gives you a lot of discount. Also, they give you a lot of points which you are able to redeem, because essentially otherwise if you are doing UPI, so today we have cards on UPI as well, credit cards, so you can earn from there. I'm saying these are little things which, whatever spending you do on cards, these points, even if they give you a 500 rupees Amazon voucher, it's just additional money lying on the table. They give you, of course, airport lounge access, they give you multiple benefits. But the only thing is, never ever, and guys, this is in bold italics underline, never ever forget your credit card payments. Pay at least 2 days in advance. There are a lot of apps, like I use Cred primarily because it gives me three reminder about my cards. I have put in a reminder in my personal calendar of, if my due date is 15th, a reminder on 11th that I have to pay my card bill. Because once you miss it, there are many implications. Firstly, they will charge you a very hefty interest amounts, they will charge you default fees, and it will have implications on your CIBIL score, which is a financial health of all your credit history. Because if there is a default, your credit score falls drastically. And because of that, if ever you wanted to apply for a home loan, a car loan, a student loan, it will increase your ROIs. So
Yeah.
be mindful. If you are able to put in the right checks, so even if you don't want to pay it physically, just put auto SI, which is a standing instruction in your bank account, that whenever my bill gets generated, it automatically debits your bank account and pays your credit card bill. If you are able to do that, I think credit card is actually one of the best instruments out there. So that's how I see it.
Also, on autopay, I think I'd want to add one point over there. Whichever account is the account for your auto debit, make sure you're maintaining more than your minimum amount and more than a sufficient amount,
Yeah,
because if it bounces over there,
yeah,
that also has an extra cost over there. I'm sorry, I'm very passionate
absolutely.
about the entire credit card space because I started my career out building credit cards. But yes, sorry, Nikesh, over to you.
Yeah. Very rightly, Nikunj has highlighted things like credit card, how it is good, how it is bad. So on that, as he said that yes, if you should be paying on time every time. So paying on time means 100% payment. Even if you are paying minimum balance, you will be
Yes.
charged the interest amount from next purchases, and your CIBIL score will be going down. So people normally get confused that if I am paying minimum balance, I am safe. So
Yeah.
minimum balance is not the safety net. This is just the safety from the delayed payment. They will not charge you the delay payment. But they will charge you interest. They will report it to the CIBIL. And now coming back to my point of view about the credit card. So I started credit card like going for everything. At one point of time, I was doing everything through credit card. It was like kind of I was purchasing everything wherever it is possible. Even if I have cash in my pocket, I was paying through credit card. But I was always thinking that I am doing this thing right, because I always ensure that I am spending when money is in my bank account. So I have 10,000 rupees in my bank account and spending 10,000. I'm just delaying this cash payment,
Yeah.
and I get the benefit of that also. Most of the time, I have, like as Nikun said, that there are reward points. So I always took the cards for petrol card. So I was filling petrol. I was getting rewarded for that thing, and I was getting a fuel tank full every, I think, third or fourth month. from that reward point only. I never took any shopping card. I always took the fuel card. So
Correct.
this is also one good thing. You should always see that where you are required to spend in the credit card, take that same kind of card.
Correct.
Not just because Amazon is giving me this offer or something, I should be taking this or that. I never go for that. Every time focus on cash. Like in Amex, I took one card which used to give me cash back every month if I am spending 4,000 rupees. So what I used to do, I spend those things in grocery or my bill payments. It used to
Hmm.
be 4,000. Thereafter, I used to get 1,000 rupees back,
Hmm.
and I am paying that 1,000 rupees next month for something.
So you
So
literally
these
have a
type of,
25% discount there.
no, it was cash.
Huh.
It was cash. Like if you are spending 4,000 rupees, you pay 4,000. 1,000 is credited in your
The
wallet.
next month's
Hmm.
bill, I'm
Next.
assuming.
So
Right.
like these type of HSBC, or there are other cards. I used to do these things, but still controlling these type of things. Remember that I my spend were going getting higher or higher. Plastic is something which you don't realize when you are spending more. So you have to take caution of this thing. Otherwise, I think it is a good thing if you are controlling that thing. And your way is
Actually,
also very good, like
nowadays,
having different accounts. That is also give you very nice way to control your things, because when you know that you my this account is only for spending, this is only for investing, so in that way
Hmm.
you tend to save more, or you fall trap of that thing less, because once you transfer those money in other two accounts, somewhere in your mind you will always remember that I have transferred all my money, so I should be keeping this card at home or something. Like these type of things, habits you will automatically develop.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I
And
think
one thing,
technology
last
and
thing, like people don't know that if you have two or three cards from the same bank and every card has limits, all those limits should not be added. It is always the highest one limit is the limit of all cards.
Yeah.
People
yeah,
normally do this mistake also.
yeah.
That's it.
True, true. I mean, because your credit limit is at an overall customer level, whereas when you're issued a card, you're said that this has a limit of, I don't know, maybe 5 lakhs or whatever. So you keep thinking that each
Like
card
people
is
take
valued
in ICICI, Amazon card is different, petrol card is different,
at,
or
yeah,
some kind of shopping. So there are three
yeah.
cards of ICICI, but actually your limit is same.
It's all, it rolls up at a customer level, so it's all
Yes.
one. Correct. I think one more thing that has happened thanks to a lot of the fintech evolution in India is that you can set specific limits across all of your accounts.
Yeah.
And while
Yeah.
for credit cards, you can kind of say that, you know what, for swipe, I only want to set it to 50,000 a month. For online shopping, it's 10,000 or whatever. Those things are a few things that I think a lot of young adults should do,
Hmm.
because that way you're making sure even if you have like a preposterously high amount as your limit, you're not spending, you're always within your means when you set these limits. It automatically kind of rejects it if you're trying to cross those limits. So, and there is a little bit of a hurdle because you'll have to go back into your banking app, then reset those limits, wait for 30 minutes. By then, you've probably realized that, you know what, you don't really need that 1 lakh phone in anyways. So, I think setting those limits on credit cards are also pretty important over there. But we've also kind of, one of the other questions that I wanted to ask for was on, there might be situations in which you need to spend, right? There is some medical emergency, or maybe just you have to do some renovations at home that your parents want you to help out with as well. So in that case, what are your thoughts on building an emergency corpus? Much how soon should young adults start thinking about building an emergency corpus? And once they've taken that baby step towards building their emergency corpus, what portion of their salary should they set aside for that? Nikesh?
I think, as for me, it should be starting from the very first salary or in any other income when you are started to get. So, and if you ask me other percentage, I'll start with the at least 10%,
Hmm.
and I'll try to make it for at least for my 6 months income
Hmm.
before I go for any big expenses, or in fact even investments. And
Hmm.
because if I am having 6 months income in my bank account, that will give me a lot of peace of mind to me, because I have 6 months income. Now I'll be feeling very relaxed at my workplace, where it is a job or my business. In case of business, in fact, I'll need more. It
Yeah,
can go up to 12 months,
yeah,
because it's a totally different game these days. And thereafter, insurance is the second thing, which I also club with the emergency fund, which is actually not a fund in your bank account, but that is kind of same importance it has, even greater importance. But still, I'll first go for emergency fund and then for insurance. So that's what I think. This is a very short and simple.
Nikunj, a little
Yeah.
more nuanced question to you on the emergency fund. Where would you park your emergency fund?
Yeah. So what I typically do is, and I would agree with Nikesh's thinking. I think 6 months it's a pretty decent time, and I think most of us here would have seen the times like COVID, completely unprecedented times in our history, and hopefully we should not be seeing those again. But these kind of things teach you that those one-off events, the black swan events we call them, can happen. The life might be completely still, and the very next day you get to hear something, like Kamlika said, about a medical emergency, about some requirement coming from a very close friend or your parents or anyone that the expense. So what I typically do it is, I park my emergency funds in liquid funds. Liquid mutual fund essentially today are giving an annualized return of somewhere around 7.25%. This is of course a pre-tax return. But I think and these are very liquid. Of course, the name is liquid, and many mutual funds have now come up with a functionality whereby I think up to 50,000 rupees you can get instantly at the click of the button. You redeem, and they come straight in your bank account. Any amount over 50,000, if you kind of put a redemption before 1:30 p.m. on a today, the amount will come in your bank account tomorrow morning 8:30 a.m. So I mean, it is as liquid as it can be. Of course, people have the notion that if I invest my funds in mutual funds, they might not be liquid. If I redeem, they might come after 7 8 days. Yes, there are different categories of funds, like equity mutual funds. Typically, it is T plus 3 redemption, but liquid mutual funds at 7.25% is a great return.
Absolutely.
Also today, some of the banks, they are offering pretty good interest rate. So like IDFC First Bank, couple of years back, they started giving a good interest rate around 6%, subsequently increased to 7.5% if you maintain a certain level of balance. So I'm parking some of my funds there as well. It's a bank account. I apply my IPOs from there, because anyways the money is there, and today we have the ASBA feature, so the money just gets blocked.
Yeah,
Plus you are earning interest from that, and it is just there. So just seeing out what is giving you the best return, what is liquid. I mean, yeah, today if I am keeping an emergency fund giving and earning a 7% pre-tax return, I am pretty satisfied with it.
absolutely. I think this is a testament to a lot of the good work that's been happening from our regulators, especially like RBI and all of
Yeah.
them, where
Yeah.
they've given us these avenues like payments bank and small finance banks for giving us these big returns. So, and the money is kind of guaranteed to stay safe as well. Thank you so much, Nikunj and Nikesh, for adding that. I think with that, now we should get into busting a few of the popular money myths that are out there. What do you guys think?
Oh yes, I'm curious, what are these myths, and if at all we can burst them, or are we part of them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first money myth that is there is that if you have a corporate insurance cover, medical insurance cover, you don't need a personal medical insurance cover. I mean, for the longest time, I fell for that myth. I don't know about you, Nikunj, Nikesh. What about you guys?
Nikesh,
No,
would you like to
I
take that
I
first?
actually Yes, I was thinking this thing till 2014.
Hmm.
Till 2014, I was thinking like that. And why I was thinking, because my company was giving me a good amount of cover.
Exactly.
It
Right.
was approximately 10 lakh rupees. Yes, it was 10 lakh
Hmm.
rupees, and we had option to take another 10 lakh rupees by paying some amount of premium. Obviously, that premium was higher, and that only led to me think that why I should not be taking a personal cover by paying the same amount of insurance, because tomorrow if I'm going to leave this company,
Yeah.
and by the time I am getting insured in the next company, I'll be uninsured. At what happens, what if something happens during that time? Second thing, which I realized after taking that insurance is, because you are in a company, maybe you are retiring from that company only, so you are not exposed to these risks which I was talking about. But still, you will be retiring at least after you are approaching 50 or somewhere mostly 60. So at that time, getting a good insurance cover from any good company will be very tough, because unfortunately if you have some kind of ailments where
Yeah.
waiting period pitches, which is normally eyes related, heart related, or some other things, or there are some outright rejections also. Like if
Correct.
somebody has cataract or something, so at that point of time it will be outright rejection, you will not get any cover.
Yeah.
So these type of things people don't realize while having insurance cover from corporate. They think that right now I am young, I'm an energetic, no, nothing is going to happen because my family history is also not like that. But today your family history has obviously play some role, but that is not 100%, because you are living in a different world. Your family had a very clean environment, their food
Yeah.
habits that time was very different. Today we
Yeah.
have, like, we are upside down. That's why this myth is, I think, very important to address. Nikunj, you can add something.
Yeah, so I think most of the things, I would agree. And what Nikesh did in 2014, I think I myself did in 2016 only. Because what I realized that, if and more, if as I think our new generation or the new people are coming in the workforce, the tenure in a particular organization or the average tenure in organizations are on reducing spree. What used to be 20 years in our fathers or parents time came down to say 10 or 8 years in when we started our careers, and that is now like, acha tum 3 साल से एक जगह पे हो.
2 years.
So
I know.
these kind of things have come.
मेरा एवरेज टेन्योर सिर्फ 2 साल का है.
Brilliant. So, what happens when you are switching jobs? Different companies have different covers, and also with as India is exploring a lot of startup culture, it's you are there one day, the next day, or maybe some months down the line, you might not be in a job or in a secured environment for some period. During that period, like Nikesh said, if something happens, you don't have a cover. Also, my only additional point is that firstly, ensure that your parents have a very stable medical cover, except from your company, because they typically are of an age where ailments are prone to occur, will occur. And if whenever you take a medical cover from outside, there will be a waiting period.
Yeah.
So to cover that waiting period, which typically is of 4 years, but there are now policies with waiting period of 1 year, 2 years. So just see for that. Take cover definitely for them, and of course for you as well, because these days, like I said, the medical cost is also through the roof, and you don't know what hits you. So be adequately insured here. uh, and make sure that if at all any kind of emergency comes, you are there with a with good cover. So yes, explore a lot of options outside.
And one more point here I want to add. These days, because companies are more centric about the cost cutting and all those things, normally I've seen that in corporate cover, copay has come into play, where you have to pay 10 or 20% from your pocket
Yeah.
when you are claiming. So
Hmm.
that is also very important thing, because in your personal insurance, most of the companies they charge little bit higher, but you can avoid this copay, and they
Yeah.
have very good features also, like they can you can take the cover of consumables also. There are these borderless, like you can go out of country. There are many other features are there which you can get benefited if you are take these policies
Yeah.
early.
Yeah. I think the next myth that I have is on you only need to invest 1,50,000 a year because that's the ATC bracket.
What if you are going for new regime?
Good one.
Yeah.
No,
Correct. So
absolutely.
I think let me just share my thoughts. So I think yes, that is something that is given by the law. Whatever minuscule, I would say, limits we are being provided, please make sure to utilize them well, and utilize them in a manner which is beneficial. So and be, so people who have kids, if you are paying your tuition fee for your child, that also gets covered.
Hmm.
So if that gets covered, you don't need to, I mean, say, invest particularly in ATC instruments. You can explore other instruments as well. But use that. I am a big proponent of NPS, because that is additional 50,000 benefit that at least current the government is giving. Make use of that.
Hmm.
And that is only, guys, for ATC. So you should not do like in credit cards. Don't do minimum payments, do full payments. So similarly in savings, don't do minimum savings, do whatever maximum you can stretch out for yourselves.
Also, I
Yes.
think while tax saving is just for that year, your investments are for a much longer term. So that's also something
Yeah,
that we should kind of keep in mind.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
but
right.
in case of ELSS, you can make it shorter also, because there are only 3 year lock-in in ELSS.
Yeah.
And Nikunj was very rightly pointing out that when you are investing for this 80C, first look out the things like your PF is getting deducted,
yeah,
you're paying your school children's fees, or if you have any other expenses like NPS is one thing. So first deduct all these from 1,50,000, because I have seen people investing 1,50,000 in FD at one go. Even if they have school fees, even if they have depositing their PF, in
yeah,
fact, even they are depositing in VPF,
Hmm.
still they invest 1,50,000. That is, I think,
yeah.
wrong.
All right. The last myth that I have is that you can have insurance which are layered over with investments, and then you have a two-in-one benefit over there.
You're talking about ULIPs.
Yeah. I don't want to name the product, but yes.
Yeah, that is ULIP. It was used to be a hot cake in 2004-5, because it has been launched in a way saying this only, because you are investing and you are getting 10 times of your investment as your insurance. So that is not a small amount. But and obviously they had given this flexibility of choosing different type of funds. You can go for equity 100%, you can mix it with bond, debt and equity, you can 100% debt. So there are very minimal charges and all those things were there. But with the time evolves, government has also realized that people are taking advantage of that thing, and investing a lot of
Yeah.
amount in ULIP to save taxes, because there you are getting almost same kind of return as you are getting in mutual fund. If you are an aware investor, you are switching on time or something, and then you are making that amount non taxable. So there is a limit has come into play in 2021 and 1st of February 2021, saying that you cannot invest more than 2,50,000 as premium in ULIPs. If you
Mm.
are investing more than that, then that extra amount will be taxable for you. So all these kind of regulations. But nowadays, because of our SEBI, our regulators has make things so transparent, so open, and there are a lot of apps which provide you so much information. There is no point of going for these type of mixed investment, because if you are going for pure insurance cover, you will be getting much larger amount of cover in very small amount, and remaining amount you can invest in the same kind of money instruments like equity or debt, and you can earn more. But if you are going for this, first of all, you are locking yourself for 5 years, you are saving tax, but you had better options. And there is a limit. You cannot like invest n number of amount and that will be non taxable for you. At the end of the year when you will be getting your return back, and you are not claiming everything and non taxable, then your IT department will be saying you, no, no, so boss, this is not taxable, this is this much only taxable, non taxable, remaining you have to pay tax, and you will end up paying interest also on that thing. So that is a kind of mis-selling these days happening.
Absolutely.
And in fact, this is just for my personal thing. I am like dealing in one kind of product where these mis-sellings are coming to us, and we are like selling these products to one person to another person. Like one person has taken the ULIP, he is not able to fulfill that 5 years lock-in period. That's why he sells that insurance to
Oh,
some other person, and that other person gets benefited from that, because that first person has to sell that investment for 50% discount.
wow.
Hmm.
So in that case,
Interesting.
second person gets the benefit of that 50% by paying half of the amount.
Hmm.
So this is the another side of the story, which I know because I am dealing in this.
Ah,
Hmm.
interesting.
Right. So, my take very quickly, I think the myth that got busted for me was, long time back. Guys, insurance is not an investment, it's an expense. So treat it like that. And of course, completely agree with Nikesh's point of view that if you have to, insurance is an expense, treat it like that. If you want to earn from mutual funds, so take a term plan, simple term plan which comes at a lower cost, gives you higher coverage, and the balance amount which you would have paid in ULIPs, just invested in a good mutual fund here. They'll give you anyways 12 to 15% of annualized return over a longer period.
Absolutely. All right, with that, I think I'm ready to open the floor up for some audience questions. But this has been such a great experience for me. I am sure those in the audience would have also benefited a lot. But yes, over to Sanya for that.
Thank you so much, Kamalika. I think we've already started receiving questions across different platforms. I'm just going to begin with the first one that I see here on YouTube. So Siddharth says, I have all these cards and apps, but when it comes to actually making the purchase, I forget. Is there a method to remember the benefits of various apps and cards that I have?
I think
Nikunj,
Nikesh is the expert, and I would request a degree above to at least get a session from Nikesh on all the values we can extract from the coupons and the discounts. I'll be very much interested in that. So I think let him answer that one.
perfect. Nikesh.
See, here I'll just cheat one line from Nikon's statement, which he was making. You have to make your efforts first, because any kind of app or card, if you are having in your wallet, that means you have taken some effort. You because of that you are having in your phone or in your wallet. So first, note down all those things in some Excel or some diary, and then against each of the things, write down what you know about that thing and consult someone who you think is the expert in these.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can make sure that you are not falling short of anything. But otherwise, in your mind, if you just thinking, I know, at the time of spending or using that thing, you will definitely get to forget.
True. I think another thing that I've done personally is, let's say that I have a Flipkart Access card, which gives you cashbacks like
Yeah.
5% on all the Flipkart brands and 4% on all of the associated brands. I make sure I add that card onto all of those platforms and set it as the default option over there. So that the next time I go onto the platform, my cognitive load of also, it's a one-time effort that I have to do for
Yeah.
all of the across all of the apps and all of that. But once I do that, for me that cognitive load is gone down because at the point of checkout the default option is always there and I'm always making money over there. Another thing that I do is, and this is where brands, because like we were mentioning, a lot of cost cutting is happening on all sides of the board. So a lot of the times what brands do is the typical offers that they have, say on a Flipkart card, if you do go into the offers that are there for you, you'll occasionally see that maybe, and this has happened to me so many times on Flipkart, but you'll see that there's a 10% offer cashback that's coming in from an HDFC card. So while it's okay to have that default card option set in over there,
Yeah.
it's also important that you go and check out what other offers are there. And my college group has like this entire group that's set up for just people asking, hey, does anyone have this coupon? Does anyone have this credit card? Can I use it? Because there's a 15% cashback there, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So maybe create a group of such peers as well around you.
It's a great initiative.
Yeah.
I think we all want to be a part of something like this.
Yes.
No, these are very actionable tips. Thank you so much. I think that's very, very helpful. The other question here on Vimeo from Bhavya is, my organization gives an option to opt in and out of EPF. Should I opt out or contribute? And what are the benefits of contributing to EPF? Nikesh, pure payroll question, so I'll have to come back to you first.
No problem. Yes, yes. So this is related to EPF. So before answering this thing, I'll just tell. Sorry, I forgot the name who has asked this question.
Bhavya.
Bhabya. So I want to tell Bhabya that you first think that if you have better options to invest, like if you are a good investor, if you have like you want to consult someone and you want to go for mutual fund or something, in that case you can opt out,
Hmm.
because if you can manage your behavior, you want to go for better investments, not going for like spending money or something. In that case you go for opt out and go for those investments. So you have to think yourself what type of person you are. If you are not able to manage those things, you want some kind of guidance or force to make you investment, then I'll suggest that be in PF, because PF is the one avenue where you will be getting highest return and non-taxable in any kind of debt instruments.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting. Thank you. There's another question here. What are some tax strategies that can help young professionals maximize their returns? Nikunj, do you want to attempt this one?
Uh, sure. So I think these are very fundamental things. You just have to stick to the basics, like we discussed. Utilize prudently your ATC limits. That's first thing. NPS again, 50,000 benefit. Try and utilize that. Today you can almost operate, open, manage everything online. Don't need to go anywhere for any sort of things. Another thing is, we discussed about initially in our session about the flexi components. Most of your special allowance today, many companies permit that at least 50, 70, 80%. My current company even provides for 100% convertibility to flexi benefits under various categories. Make an effort to check out those benefits so that you can optimize your again tax savings substantially. It increases your in-hand salary. HRA again is a very good thing. Be prudent about HRA things. So like what I do typically is, if you are saying, say, paying to your parents, you're staying with them, paying to your parents, your mom or your father doesn't have a taxable income, of course do it. But make sure a couple of things. Do regular bank transfers so that it is purely shown that yes, you are paying the rent. Try and do a stamp paper agreement annually, so that again this proves as a good point that yes, we are actually paying. And whenever you are reporting your parents income, definitely show this HRA income that you are paying to them as their income and file their returns. That's how foolproof you can be. But if you do these basic things, of course you can save a lot of money on HRA. Yeah, why not? Ultimately you have to work for your money.
Thank you so much, Nikunj. Kamalika, I have a question for you, and I just absolutely can't let you go without answering this for us. And I feel very passionately about this because of gender, of course. You work extensively in this space, right? Financial literacy for women, and I think a lot of us would agree. That it's more important than ever now that women are in the workforce, right? Like back then, they weren't, so they didn't care as much, but now they do, and a lot of women are interested in knowing where and how to invest their money and how to independently do so. I'd like you to maybe touch upon this in your experience so far with working in this space, how do you encourage women to A, realize that this is important, and B, actually practically do it?
So I think I'm an outlier case when it comes to this because I come from a family where women were always encouraged to talk about money, which I don't think it's the norm in India. I realized that
Yeah.
much later when I joined my first workforce. Because, like I said, right, my first financial advice came from my chachi. My bua topped up by saying, "Why are you only putting 10%? You should put at least 30%." So I think it's run in the family that whenever we're having a family get together or when we're having a family dinner, we sit down and talk about I've invested in this investment of mine did really well, that investment of mine didn't do so well, have you checked out this new instrument that's come out? And so those kind of conversations I grew up around, which is very atypical for even I think a Bengali household. I think most Bengalis just like talking politics, but yes, we're an outlier. We're an anomalous family when it comes to that. But it really hit me when I came into the workforce and there was a bunch of guys sitting and talking about, dude, have you seen the market? It's dipped today. I bought this. So when I tried being a part of it, they all looked at me and went like, "You invest?" And I'm like, "Does not everybody do that?" Like, I genuinely had a question mark, and all the other girls are like, "Nay, I don't do it. I don't feel comfortable," and all of that. I'm like, "There's nothing to be not comfortable about it. It's like, it's just something that you have to do. Otherwise, down the line, 10 years later, you're gonna be like, where's all my money?" You don't want to be in
Yeah.
that situation. So I think that's the only thing I keep telling, and I keep giving, stories of my grandmother and all of them. So for context, my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, worked in the treasury of a bank. So she literally, kind of ran the household over there, from managing the budgets to figuring out who has to do what kind of, who gets to spend how much on what and all of those. And my grandfather would just give her his salary and be like, "Yeah, now it's up to you to figure it out." So I keep giving that example, like, three generations back, if a woman could actually
Yeah.
bring up not just her family, this was also, by the way, during partition. So a lot of people from Bangladesh were coming in. So she brought up a lot of families with just two people's income. If one woman could do that back then, there's no reason why you are not doing it in today's day and age where we have influencers like, Anushka Rathod, who are taking the world by storm. So that's just the only thing I keep telling people.
Thank you so much. Love that for sure. I think let's sum up. And once again, I'll request Kamalika if you can just summarize upon the key points that we discussed today very, very quickly before we conclude the session.
For me, I think the biggest takeaway has been that you have to be curious if you want to make your money work for you. So go out and ask about what all different benefits are there, what all different baskets of allowances are there that you can capitalize on, and do that from day one, not 6 months later when you're seeing your tax slip and figuring out, whoops. That is one. Then on the other side, it's okay to spend. Don't feel guilty about spending. It happens to the best of us. It happens to all of us. But just be mindful of where you're spending and how much you're spending, and whether you have at least, if you're working, at least 6 months worth of your salary as an emergency corpus. If not, you start by at least setting aside 10% of your income every month till you reach that level. If you have a business, then you better have it for 12 months, like what Nikesh said. And credit cards are not always bad; they're not always good either. And yes, just take action. Ask experts.
Thank you so much once again. And I want to thank both of you as well, Nikunj and Nikesh, for all the valuable insights. Your expertise and perspectives have really provided us with a wealth of practical tips and tools. And once again, we really appreciate your time and contribution.
Thank you.
On behalf of everyone in the audience, of course, I'd like to express our deep gratitude. And with that, we conclude the session today. Thank you all for